Welcome to the Divine Connection podcast. I'm your host, Christina Roche, and together we are walking the path of discovering your true self and the alignment with your soul. Through these conversations, you will experience a deeper level of connection with yourself and the universe, and most importantly, you will trust in your spiritual journey ahead. Let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Divine Connection podcast. I am so excited today because I have a special guest. Her name is Renata Trebing, and she is here joining us to talk about intuitive nutrition. And so Renata is an intuitive nutrition coach, global speaker, author, wife, and a mom of 3 beautiful kids. Her mission is to empower women to nourish their bodies by understanding foods that work best for them, how these foods impact their energy, and redefining their relationship with food and their bodies. She loves creating good-for-you recipes that taste amazing, that honors your body's energy, and supports your health transformation. Hello, Renata. I am so excited to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to see you and to be able to chat about literally my favorite topic ever, food.
Yes. Oh my gosh, so good. And I just have to tell everyone that I have had the honor of firsthand tasting Renata's cooking and her recipes and all of the things that she brings when she came to be our in-house chef and nutrition expert at a retreat that I co-hosted last year in San Diego. And it was just like the most amazing thing. And I literally kept asking Renata, I was like, so can you just stay here in San Diego and keep cooking for me and my family? Like, how much do I have to pay you for that? But I'm still working on it. But her recipes, her cooking, everything that she brings when it comes to nutrition is so beautiful and so amazing. So I just have to let everyone know how amazing you are.
Oh, thank you so much. And that was literally one of the most incredible experiences I've had because everything just was so cohesive and so symbiotic and everything just worked, not just in terms of the food, but everything that happened at that retreat.
Yes. Oh, it was so good. So good. So I want to start off by asking you, kind of maybe like a basic question, but really to just dive right into this topic of intuitive nutrition. And to kind of just hear from you for people who maybe are like, so what does that actually mean, intuitive nutrition? Because I think what I first think of is maybe what's maybe considered more like intuitive eating, which I think like eating based off of what my body is kind of craving or desiring or what I feel called towards, right? So I would love for you to explain to us the difference, if there is a difference, intuitive nutrition, intuitive eating, like where and what I just described, where does that fall under between the two of those things?
Yes. Well, this is a great question because I agree that intuitive eating is one of the most catchworthy phrases when it comes to nutrition nowadays. And so intuitive eating, for anyone that doesn't know, is exactly like you mentioned. It's understanding the feeling in your body that might be drawing you towards a particular food or ingredient and eating in that way, as well as paying attention to your hunger and fullness cues. So hey, I'm feeling hungry, I'm going to eat. I'm feeling full, I'm going to stop. And that might sound simple. And many people don't pay attention to those hunger and fullness cues.
Yes.
And they don't pay attention to what are the foods that actually help me to feel the way that I want to feel. Now, intuitive nutrition takes that a little bit further in 2 ways. So the first way is understanding your energy centers, your chakras in your body. Understanding, hey, am I feeling some imbalance? Am I feeling some blocking of energy, for instance? And in that particular chakra, what foods could help me to release that energy or to start moving energy through my body in a different way that's more aligned with my particular health goals. And the second way is specifically to do with my intuitiveness. So I then, with my clients, read their energy, read their energetic centers to see, hey, where am I feeling? Because I, in particular, feel in my body what they're feeling or may not yet be able to have awareness around any restrictions in their particular energetic centers.
Okay. Oh, that's really cool. So is it kind of like if you're sitting in a session with a client, then you kind of let's say the root chakra, the sacral chakra, you'll have some sort of knowing or feeling that says, ooh, they need support to the root chakra or the sacral chakra or whatever chakra it ends up being. And then that way you can kind of recommend foods based off of that. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes.
Oh,
So I'll be
cool.
sitting across from someone kind of like this, and I'll ask them questions like about their sacral, let's say, because I feel like there's a lot
Mm,
coming up about sacral work right now.
yes.
And
And
I
we're going to
will
get into that.
literally, yes, I literally feel tension, or I feel cramping, or I feel
Mm,
discomfort based upon the other person's energy, of
mm-hmm,
course, assuming they allow
mm-hmm.
me to feel that.
Right.
And then we'll discuss like what's going on. And it's not just about food. So this is the other important point about intuitive nutrition. Yes, food is important. It's super tangible. It helps to support your energetic centers so much. And we have to also consider what's the mental impact, the emotional impact, the energetic
Mm-hmm.
impact from those things, or from past traumas as well.
Right. Yes, I love that. And I love that approach so much that you take it as like a holistic approach because it really is, all of us. It's not just the physical part, but it is, every aspect like you said, like the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, all of that has an influence, right? In terms of how we're feeling and what's going on in the chakras. So one quick question that I have that I'm curious because this just came up as you were talking is when it comes to then, like, let's say we'll keep going with the example of sacral chakra, right? Which is, just below the navel and it's orange. And so when you recommend foods to support the sacral chakra or any chakra, is it based off of the color? So let's say with sacral, you would recommend like orange foods, or if it was a heart chakra, you would recommend green foods. Is that how it's associated, or is there some other like deeper level there that you also kind of connect with each of the chakras in food?
Yes, so it starts with the colors for sure. So with
Okay.
sacral, like all those orange foods, literally oranges, sweet
Mm-hmm.
potatoes, carrots, pumpkins, those kinds of things. Yes, 100% the color, as well as spices. So any orangey spices such as
Mm.
turmeric, really great for the sacral. And it
Mm-hmm.
goes a step further because oftentimes with the sacral or any of the chakras, really, we have to think about what are other liquids like
Oh
water.
yeah.
So sacral and all energetic centers really love a lot of hydration, as we all
Mm-hmm.
know. So staying
Mm-hmm.
hydrated is super important. And also looking beyond that in terms of the holistic methods too. So with the sacral being the creativity center, the personal pleasure center, right? Enjoyment.
Mm.
We also look at those areas of life to see, hey, am I doing something in regards to pleasure each day to help really support the energy
Mm.
flow through the sacral?
Right. Okay. I love that. That's so amazing. So good. Is there, so when it comes to like, that brings support to the chakra, which is an energy center in our bodies, which then of course influences the physical body, right? So I'm assuming anyone, with any sort of maybe issues or things going on in like the sacral area or the heart area or whatever, the gut, like gut issues, right? With solar plexus, I'm assuming, correct?
Correct.
So it'll help support the physical symptoms. Is that correct? Like when you work with people and apply these different like the foods and then also the other aspects of supporting them. So then my question is, how do you see it translating like spiritually or energetically within them? You know what I mean? Like is there any ways that it helps support people with their spiritual connection or awareness or connection with their soul, or you know what I mean? Like how does that fit into all of this?
Yeah. So this is a really powerful question because, and in particular with the sacral, for women, there's something that I've been noticing recently over the past, I would say 12 months. And
Mhm.
that is a lot of sacral work is being done, especially around like the maternal lines in your family. So
Mm.
when you ask questions around like how is this helping me spiritually, if we can first get connected with our bodies, get connected to the energetic centers that might be having some imbalance of energy, let's say such as the sacral, the food helps to support that. It helps to create the energy so that we can literally look within and look into
Mhm.
our past to see, hey, is there any trauma that is being
Mm.
carried down specifically through the sacral? So when I say that, what do I mean? I have had a client recently, actually a few different clients, that have had really negative relationships with their bodies. And this idea of self love not just relates to the heart chakra, it also relates
Mhm.
to the sacral. Because if we can't experience personal pleasure, right, we can't
Right.
then continue the energy work through the sacral. And
Mhm.
so oftentimes this is a learned behavior. So if I and many of my clients have had moms that had negative relationships with their bodies, that gets passed down to us through lots of
Mhm.
different mechanisms, including energy, right? Including we
Right.
were in their womb, which then birthed us, and we have a womb,
Mhm.
and that continues. The cycle continues. And so
Mm.
the food supports the energy so that we can look within and look to the past, so we can heal the energy that might be being carried forward that's not serving a more positive and
Mhm.
healthy relationship with our bodies.
Wow. That is so powerful. Amazing. So good. And I have to say, I've noticed a similar thing, not specifically with, in the realm of food and how that supports, but like just the topic of this, connection with the sacral for women, bringing forward the divine feminine, and then also the ancestral energy too. Like everything that you just
Yes.
said, I've been seeing that too. And it's so interesting to witness that and to see how in different kind of like um, you know, areas of work, I guess you could call it, but really it's all kind of leading to the same thing, how similar patterns are coming up. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
that's amazing.
Yeah. It really
So
is.
good.
And I think it's because there's a whole new level of awareness coming up for women around who they are, and noting
Hmm.
that we can either continue to be parallels of what we've been brought up with, right? Or we
Mm-hmm.
can choose a new path forward. And I think so many women are waking up to this idea that I don't have to carry on these generational issues, whether they be
Yes.
health, whether they be energetic, whether they be just even the habits of the things that we do on a day to day basis. I get to
Mm-hmm.
choose. And so the self leadership is coming in. And I love that
Yes.
because it relates to literally every single part of your life.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So good. And I love that you said the word self-leadership because that's really what this is all about and that it's such an empowering energy. And I feel like especially, speaking to the generational trauma and the generational energy that gets passed down, especially as women, where traditionally it's been, disempowerment that's been, experienced in our lineage for so long that it really does feel like there is this breakthrough point that's happening right now, like in our generation and the younger generations, where we are being called forward to break through that.
Yes, 100%. And so for
Yeah.
me, I see this through the lens of health. Like I see this through the lens
Mhm.
of, for years and years, the studies on health were done on men. There's been, up until
Mm.
recently, not as many studies done on women's health. And in
Wow.
particular, understanding women's hormones and our cycles, our menstrual cycles, getting into menopause, getting into, before, if we have irregular cycles or regular cycles, and what happens if
Mhm.
we miss cycles. And so I love being an advocate for this because it's shining a light on all these things, just like you are, all these things that haven't been spoken about, and
Yes.
really giving the platform for women to say, hey, you know what? Something's up with this, and I'm ready to face it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that is so huge. So, what would you say is like for women who are listening, or men and whatever women you have in your life that you want to share this with them? But for anyone listening, what would you say are maybe some key indicators in terms of either like physical symptoms or maybe how they're feeling emotionally or mentally that would be an indication for them to, like really pay attention to maybe what their sacral is desiring for them to look at or to heal, or that kind of thing? Like what are some key things that you have noticed from your work?
Mm. So, a few different things. Number one, in regards to the relationship with yourself, your body, your physical appearance,
Mm,
there's so many women that look in the mirror and tell me, they're like, I don't love anything about my body. I don't know who
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at, right? Because we often, and this is a societal imprint, we look at ourselves post babies, right? And we
Right.
think we should be looking like we looked pre babies.
Yes. So
Yeah.
big. Yes.
So
I'm in
big,
that right
right?
now. Yes.
I thought that would resonate, and it resonated with me after babies. I mean, I significantly remember that time when I saw a photo of myself after I mean, I'm saying like 3 days after giving birth to my oldest, and I was wearing like a
Mhm.
gray tank top, like a nursing top, and I was like, I look like an elephant. Like, I just don't know
Yeah.
what I'm looking at, right? And for many women, that continues. That
Mm.
negative self-talk and
Mhm.
looking in the mirror and not knowing who you're looking at continues even if their kids are 5 or 10 or 20, right?
Mhm.
So if you are noticing the negative self-talk, that's a good clue that some self-love is not evident, right? And so we want
Mm.
to examine that relationship you're having with your body. And of course, this then relates to food, because
Mhm.
if the food that we're putting into our bodies is not an expression of self-love, right, it's probably
Mm.
not going to be, for the most part, healthy and nourishing and nutritious food, right?
Mhm.
Or even if you are feeding yourself, what you think is healthy food, quote unquote healthy food, the energy that you're putting into it, right, could be
Right.
counteracting those effects. Like, everything is energy, as you know. And so if we're
Mhm.
having a negative energy in the foods that we're creating, some part of that is getting imprinted in our cells as well.
Mm. That's
And the
huge.
other thing, yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. So the body, the self-love of the body, the self-love and how you talk to yourself in your head.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then in addition to that, so many women are noticing issues with their cycles. So I just did a
Mm.
masterclass this week talking about the menstrual cycle. Once again,
Mhm.
another topic that we feel like is taboo, or we
Right.
can't talk about it with anyone else. Through my learnings over many years of understanding the cycle and hormones, the menstrual cycle is literally called the fifth vital sign, because you can tell
Wow.
so much about the body through the cycle. And so if you can
Wow.
understand what's going on with your menstrual cycle, it can tell you so much about, like, hey, am I predisposed to diabetes or heart disease or other chronic illnesses? And instead of, and I think many women feel this way, is that their menstrual cycle is something that you dread. Like, every time you bleed, you're like dreading it, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, why, right? I've been there too.
Right.
If you're
Yes.
feeling like that, then you don't have that body love. You don't have that loving of your
Mm.
flow, right? It's that feminine energy, that embracing of it, because we can learn so much from it. So those are like 3 different things of many that you could look at for sacral work.
Yeah, that's huge. I love this so much. Thank you for sharing that because I feel like it's like really things that are so just I think ingrained in just like our day to day, like whatever, even with the cycle. Okay, my cycle started. Like, okay, here we go. Whatever, you know what I mean? Rather than having this intentional approach to it where you are intentionally, honoring it or loving on yourself or, being curious about, okay, what's going on here or how can I support myself or whatever, And so I love this so much. And I also love the bit about, even when you're cooking with, and having that positive energy with the food. So can I ask you, like, what does that look like for you? How do you, like, let's say, because I'm someone who I feel like I eat healthy for the most part, like probably like the 80-20 balance type of thing going on, and so how would you recommend to kind of even enhance that even more, like you were mentioning with the food and like the energy? Is it literally, I what I think of in my head is the thing that they talk about with plants, how you could have two different plants and one you like love on it and you're like, I love you, like beautiful, whatever, and the other one you just kind of ignore or say mean things to it or whatever, and you see how the different plants like thrive differently, right? So is it similar like that, or is there anything else that you would recommend?
Yeah, it is similar to that. And so what it comes down to for me primarily is like setting the intention. Like, what is my
Mm,
intention when I'm making this meal? Like, how do I want to
mm,
feel? That's always a question I come back to. How do I want to feel? Do I want this food to feel nourishing and joyful and energizing, right? That's my intention. That's the energy I'm putting into the food, as well
Mm-hmm.
as slowing down. So many times we're eating on the run. We're like
Yes.
running through life from meeting to meeting, just shoving like protein bars in our faces or
Yes.
like trying to quickly guzzle some water.
Yep.
So slowing down, really enjoying your food, breathing, right? Breath, such a great way to start an intention with your breath.
Mm.
And then being mindful, like really taking that time to breathe, to chew, to taste all the
Mm.
flavors, to incorporate all of your senses into that eating experience. So it's not just, I got to quickly wolf down a meal, it becomes a sacred practice.
That's amazing. I love that. That's so like so okay, next question because I'm thinking about this with myself and everyone else in mind, there are the moments where you do really have to rush in between or whatever. So, what would you say is like a good like small practice that you can do if you really are like I don't have time to slow down, or like you don't think of it. Is there like something where even for like 5 seconds to just have that intention, or what would you say for someone who's like, but I really don't have time to slow down right now or whatever, I'm really rushing in
Yes.
between meetings, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So, literally, the easiest 5-second thing that you can do is take a breath. And there's so
Okay.
many benefits to this. So, like, literally, I will be mid taking a bite of something and I'll remember, okay, I got to slow down. Let me just breathe.
Mm.
And that deep diaphragmatic breathing is going to do lots of
Mm-hmm.
things. Obviously, it's going to have an impact on your heart rate because taking those long, deep, slow breaths help to lower the heart rate, help to lower
Mm-hmm.
cortisol in your body, the stress hormone. It also helps to
Mm.
redirect blood flow into the gut. So if you're looking at improving
Right.
gut health, taking that breath, deep
Mm.
breathing deep into your diaphragm, you're literally sending blood into all of your digestive organs,
Mm-hmm.
and you're creating this peaceful, calming experience around your food. So there's lots of great things to do in
Mm.
5 seconds by just
Yes.
breathing.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. And did anyone else, while you were listening to this, actually slow down in your breathing? Because I felt like I became much more intentional in my breathing just listening to you talk about that. So that is amazing. That's so good. Oh my gosh, so, so
Thanks.
good. And then the other thing that I just want to add too is, just in general, talking about like the way that nutrition and food supports us energetically. One of the things that I, always teach and talk about, especially in my work where it's related to, channeling and connecting with the angels or connecting with the divine and like our spiritual connection that way is I do talk about how, nutrition does influence our connection in that way, right? Like if you're someone who's constantly just eating, processed foods, sugar, like all of those kinds of things, it is going to impact how you connect with the divine and how you connect with angels and that sort of thing. So is that something that you have witnessed in your work as well? Or like what is there anything that you would add or share about that like spiritual connection that we have and how food influences it?
Yeah, I agree completely with what you said. I would also say for me, the closer we can get to eating more unrefined products. Now, I'm realistic. Like, I understand there's going to be times, and I do this, where we literally just have to grab a bar off the shelf at the
Mhm.
grocery
Mhm.
store, or we want to eat chips, right? Like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that.
Mhm.
And if we can focus on having primarily those unrefined foods, so like fresh fruits and vegetables and lean proteins,
Mm.
we are not only getting more nutrients, we're not only getting,
Mhm.
really highly nutritious foods, especially if you're getting it locally. I feel like energetically and spiritually, we're connecting more with the earth, Mother Earth, right? The
Mm.
closer we can get to the food on the ground in our communities, we're taking that in. Like we're literally and
Mm.
energetically taking that in. And for me,
Yes.
what I feel like is when I began to really be devoted to eating closer to the ground, eating more unrefined foods, that helped me to ground more, like into the earth energetically and
Mm.
spiritually. And I needed
Mhm.
that. Like I needed to feel that stable foundation so that I could open up with my intuitiveness, so that I could open up to spirit
Yes.
and the universe. I needed that stable, strong foundation.
That's so good. I love that. And it's such an important part. Like, as you say that, I'm like, yes, of course, that's such an important part of it because we are humans at the end of the day. Like, we have a physical body, so we do need to be grounded. And I think that's one of the key things too, is, that I've just witnessed in my work, is that if we're too ungrounded and we're too high up in, like, you know, in the higher realms or whatever, then it's hard to even, like, be in this physical world or translate it into, how do you want to live your life, or to bring it through into a physical form or whatever, right? And I think that's maybe sometimes when people might have a hard time, where they're like, well, I just want to hang out in the higher realms. I just want to be, floaty and daydreamy all day long and not really do anything, right? And I think that's such a good point that you just brought up, is that if that is you, if you have felt that way, or if, sometimes it's like we do energetic connections or practices or whatever, and you're like, this is amazing. Like, why would I want to, like, be in my physical, everyday life, or whatever? And so then it's like bringing this together the way that you just mentioned, through the groundedness and through the food, and to really bring, like, slow down and bring back that enjoyment and love for yourself and love for your life. Then it's like bringing the two together in a beautiful way, right? Where it actually opens you up even more to that spiritual connection, while maintaining that groundedness in who you are as a human, so that you can live in the mission and the purpose and the experience of life that you came here to live, I think.
Yes.
So I
Beautiful.
love that. I love
Beautiful.
that so much. So I have one last question for you that I would love for you to share with us. Is, this podcast is called The Divine Connection. So I would love to hear from you. What does that divine connection feel like for you? Or how do you experience your divine connection on a day-to-day? Like, what would you say is the biggest thing for you when it comes to your spiritual connection, who you are, how you're living this life, all of the things?
So for me, it's a few different things. For me, when I think about the divine connection, I feel it in three specific places in my body. So number one is the heart connection. So I feel like
Mm,
the expansion of the heart chakra and the opening up, not just to receive, right, but to also love, to love myself, to love others. I feel
mm-hmm.
it in my sacral, right? I feel it in the creativity and the passion and the pleasure and the enjoyment of life and of the connection.
Mm,
And I feel it, through my crown chakra. That was how I learned to connect with the universe, to spirit,
right.
through that space. And then it's come down into the rest of my body. It's really embedded into those particular chakras. And of course, throughout my whole body
Mm-hmm.
too. So that's primarily what I feel when I think about the divine connection. And then also, I know that I'm supported. I'm supported with, my
Mm,
protection guides. I'm supported with my angels. I'm supported with, my spiritual helpers that
mm-hmm.
I feel and see from a day-to-day basis, as well as like other spirits that come in, that talk to me, that want me to say things to
Yeah.
other people, that help me to support my clients in our coaching sessions. So it's constant, it's fluid, it's continuous. And I love
Mm,
how much it shows up in lots of different
mm-hmm.
ways throughout my life.
Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. I love that so, so much. And you're such a beautiful example of that, integration of, like, the groundedness within yourself, the love for you and who you are, and then also having that spiritual connection and really living in that divine experience with the universe, with your divine spirit team that's always there. So thank you so much for sharing that. I love that.
Thank
So
you.
one last thing is, I would love for you to share where people can find you, where they can connect with you. Where are you hanging out in the online world these days? How can people find you? And I believe that you have a special something to share with people, a little kind of gift, so to speak. So please feel free to share all of the things with our listeners.
Yes. Thank you. So, the best place to connect with me is on Instagram. So my handle is at nourish underscore with underscore Renata. I also have my website. And so that's nourishwithrenata.com. And on that website, you can see on the menu bar right at the top that says book a call. And so I'd love to offer everyone listening a free 20-minute consultation. And this is how we really start to dive into your nutrition, your health journey, and figure out like what is an actual strategy that can help you to get there. So I love having these conversations. And honestly, for the most part, we go way beyond 20 minutes because I just know what my mission is on this earth.
Yes.
And I want to help so many women have that impact to their health, to be those revolutionary women that break free from those ancestral chains, that help to redefine their future moving forward, especially when it comes to their health, especially when it comes to their connection to their bodies, their self-love, and how they use that as their personal power moving forward.
So good. Thank you so much. And yes, please, everyone who's listening, if you felt something, if you were like, oh my gosh, I feel this, I need this in my life, go connect with Renata. All of the links, by the way, are in the show notes below. So if you want like a direct link, go to the show notes below this episode and you will be directly connected to where you need to go to find Renata, to connect with her, to experience her wisdom and all of the beautiful things that she has to share. So I just want to say thank you again for being here with us and for sharing your beautiful energy, for sharing your nuggets of wisdom with us. This was so helpful and so amazing. So thank you. I feel inspired. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do next time I'm eating. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know in the comments below. Go share your love with Renata. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. I am sending you so much love and angel blessings, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you once again for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you want to learn more about the Divine Connection podcast, you can go to christinaaroche.com/podcast and learn about how you can be featured on the show.